This is the 24th episode of the Illegally So Hands to the Face Football Podcast. How you doing, Jake?
I'm doing great, Hayden. How are you?
I am tremendous as per usual. We had a very exciting day yesterday. I have to say I was really I enjoyed the draft thoroughly as per usual. Every year enjoy the draft just because it's really is it's the most dramatic thing we have in the entire football season.
It is the Super Bowl for the teams that did not make the Super Bowl. So,
I don't know if I love that phrase as much, but at least there's excitement for every team. It's the only time when every team is excited, unless you're the Raiders.
yes, unless you're the Raiders.
Then it's only your GM and your coach, and everybody else is like, what are we doing?
This guy that had a third round grade on him, we took him in the middle of the first. Awesome.
Okay, let's get to the news. All right, Cole Beasley dropped a new song. Haven't heard it. I just was told by sources that he dropped a new song. That's important, right?
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's important. That's
okay.
important.
Moving on. That's basically all we got besides draft news. Oh, we could talk about Rodgers a bit if you'd like, but
yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of news that's come out about it. It's just he doesn't want to play in Green Bay anymore. They promised to trade him, and then they backed out of it. And we're like, oh, well, we can rework it, and that's not going to happen. So he's threatening retirement now. Is the last thing that I saw.
This is a mess. I mean, how could you mistreat him that badly? I mean, you could go and draft the quarterback in the first round last year, but you still did so many other things to like compound the negativity towards him. Basically, seemingly, it has not been good how they've handled that situation, and I wouldn't be surprised if this team loses him and drops from a 13-3 team to say 10-7 team now that we've got the 17th game.
Yeah,
I mean even more. That may be generous saying 10-7.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good roster, but it's tough without a quarterback that's proven.
Yes, and without Rodgers, I'm pretty sure the Bears would have the best quarterback in the NFC North at that point.
It's absolutely hilarious. With that, would you like to get to the draft?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, 1-2. I mean, we knew that. So, is there anything really you want to add about it? I mean, I will say that I really did enjoy how Zach Wilson looks. I love how Zach Wilson presents himself. Not the biggest fan of him as a player, but gosh, he is a cutie.
He does not look like he's aged since 8th grade. It is hilarious.
He looks great. He looks awesome out there. So then, third overall. I said this to you, texting you, but we got to the point of the actual draft, and or not even the actual draft, just the day after my mock draft was released, and like the day after, for some reason, it felt like everybody knew at that point that Justin Fields couldn't go third overall anymore, and I didn't know why that was, but I did make my post on Instagram about me being like, what the heck is going on? Like right before the draft started, because I knew at that point, even though I made my mock on Friday, I was like, the next day I was like, Fields isn't going third overall anymore. I don't know why, but they just took him off the list entirely. And they obviously did go with Trey Lance for you. So I fine with it. It's just not really the decision that I would have made.
Yeah, I made my, like I said, I didn't make any edits to my mock draft. You and I finished ours at the same time. But I saw that they were leaning more towards Trey Lance in the news, but it just seemed during the broadcast that everything was just so certain of this is either going to be Mac Jones or Trey Lance, and right now we're leaning 75% Trey Lance on it.
No, I swear it was like that it was like Thursday I did my mock draft. We actually recorded it Friday and put it out Saturday, right? And it was like that Friday stuff got released about it, and then I saw it on Saturday, and I was like, what the heck? So really, I'm just wrong. I'm like, this changes everything once Fields doesn't go third overall. So I mean, not entirely sure, but so then at that point you were 3 for 3, and I'm 2 for 3. So you taking the lead.
Oh yeah.
At least I got the position right.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
trade
yeah.
up. They trade up to go left tackle.
Yeah, that's worth half a point.
Yeah. Oh jeez. So then we got Kyle Pitts to the Falcons. I think this one made a lot of sense to me too. You didn't have. I'm sorry. I'm
No,
kind of
I didn't.
blanking on what did you have them doing here? Did
I
you
had
have them?
Justin Fields going to the Falcons.
Okay, and that like I said, I just didn't see them moving on from Matt Ryan because I thought the owner wouldn't want to. We don't know if that's for sure actually why, but it turned out to be correct. So we're kind of on the same track. And then the Bengals made the decision that really started like the first four picks didn't know where they were gonna go, but um, it wasn't like I was really upset by anything. The Bengals going Jamar Chase is not something that I'm happy with from a Bengals perspective. I mean, and the thing that's going to be tough about it is that it is a great pick, and in terms of the player they're getting is great, and he's going to be great, but how much is this actually going to help their football team compared to other positions that they could improve at? It's probably not going to be a terribly large upgrade. Whereas if they went left tackle and really made that a huge improvement to the offensive line, I think that would have helped a lot more.
Yeah, I had them taking Jamar Chase, but even when had them taking Jamar Chase, I said it'd be stupid for them to do because you need to protect Joe Burrow, and you said to me that you don't think Burrow's gonna have any influence. I don't think like I said it just him having influence. I don't think he did, but he like texted Jamar Chase the day before and just said, "Yeah, get your bags packed. You're coming to Cincy." So they must have clued him in on it, or he had some influence in them doing that. Which if he did, Joe, come on, man, you only got a couple ACLs, dude. You can't be losing them
Yeah.
left and right like that.
Did you see? I'm only asking you this because you mentioned Joe Burrow influenced the Bengals. Did you see when the Chargers were on the clock? I swear there was a guy that wasn't Justin Herbert, but like had the exact same
Looked
haircut and
exact,
looked
yes,
exactly
looked
like
exactly
Justin
like him.
Herbert in the war room.
Yeah, when
That's
I saw
funny.
that, I'm like, do they have Herbert working with the front office directly on who he's gonna get? But I don't think it was him.
I thought that would be awesome. That I would actually be like, that's really cool if they were doing that. I would have been like, that's dope. And then I was this next pick. I was not surprised to see the Dolphins go wide receiver. However, I was surprised that it was Jalen Waddle. I was not expecting them to be like Jalen Waddle. Didn't see that coming.
Mm-hmm. I he gets to. I had them taking Jalen Waddle, but with their 18th overall pick, he's gonna be able to learn all the tricks in the book that Will Fuller has of the go route, and
Boy,
it's just tough because Tua doesn't really have that strong of an arm, so they're gonna be running some fast crossing
they
routes.
got they got so many receivers too. These two teams decided to take top ranked receivers, and they're really not teams that I look at and say, "Geez, you really need a receiver." Like, yes, neither of them have like a dominant number one, but I mean, jeez, it just doesn't feel right with other positions they could go to. I mean,
Hmm.
the Dolphins probably should have traded down because just of like where the positions they would need to go after. Nobody else is really going for them here, and they're a team that loves to trade. I can't believe that they actually felt the need to sit at six for any reason. I can't believe they love Jalen Waddle that much.
Yeah, it was kind of confusing. I mean, the consensus was that they were going to get a playmaker, but Jalen Waddle's just very mind-boggling because he brings exactly what Will Fuller brings to the table. The comparisons for him and Tyreek Hill, I get it, they're both fast. They're not similar though. E- Like I think a good comp for him would be Will Fuller. They're both fast guys that run goes.
Yeah, I
And
think well, yeah, but I think Waddle's definitely better in the open
oh
field, but
yes,
I
yes,
don't think
yes.
like actually getting the ball in the open field. I don't think I think you're right though. I don't think the Tyreek Hill comparison's that great either. I don't know if there is really a perfect player for him. Like I say I don't like comps a lot, and I did them all for the TikToks because I think they're funny to do for the TikToks, but or just like get more people to click on them, whatever. But no, like honestly, I really don't like comps most of the time unless it's like so obvious that it's like I can't not say it. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, Waddle, there's nothing really that's that similar to him that I can say. I've seen in recent years. He's got a combination of a ton of abilities.
Yeah, I just don't really get it bringing a guy whose main quality is he's good in the open field and he burns everyone, and Tua can barely throw the ball 25 yards downfield. It it's just it doesn't Devonta Smith would have been a way better pick there
Well, yeah,
if they were going to go receiver.
I agree with you, and I don't understand why Jakeem Grant. Like, if you have a guy like Jakeem Grant and he's not showing up every week and balling out for you, what is there to say that Jalen Waddle would be this, like, crazy talent that has a fairly similar skill set that's really going to make him a game-changing threat? So, like, as a Bills fan, I see this pick and it's, like, really not that scary to me. Except for the fact that he can run a
the
go
speed.
route. Yeah,
Yeah, the speed is
it's just the go
scary.
route though. It's not like all the other stuff. Like, not most of the other stuff really at all. Very strange. I was really surprised to see that Detroit went Penei Sewell.
I mean, the lineman pick kind of just makes sense with Dan Campbell getting a mauler and
Dude.
Penei Sewell, and they get the best offensive lineman.
It makes sense, but I mean, right here, then we go from 1, 2, 3, 4 filling positions of need that the teams actually need to fill in because they've got bad spots. Whereas then we get this 5, 6, 7 pick, and I would argue that all three of these guys are at positions that are not even close to the position. The Detroit Lions are the worst offenders because the Lions, like, one of the only things that I would say I looked at their roster and said they were okay at is, like, offensive tackle. Offensive tackle and arguably quarterback, if you want to say, okay, they're going to keep Jared Goff for a little while, so we know that those two positions are okay. So why did they go to one of the two positions that I was like, okay, it's reasonably decent? Every other position, there's room for improvement, and they went for the one position that they don't necessarily need. And once again, we can't say it's a bad pick because it's definitely a player who's going to be plenty talented. I don't think we have any doubts about Penei Sewell at all, but it's really not the right pick for your team.
I see if their quarterback wasn't Jared Goff and it was Sam Darnold in this scenario, I would understand, like, oh yeah, you want to just strengthen up that offensive line to evaluate him, to give him a better evaluation. But even then, draft a receiver, give him a weapon if you're Detroit.
Yeah.
But you're already paying Jared Goff a boatload of money because he's proven. So sure, if you want to shore up the offensive line because you want to have a fortress in front of the rookie quarterback after you go 0-16 next season or 0-17.
Yeah, it's jeez, that, I mean, it feels like it's a possibility at this point. And I mean, it feels like we can say that every season. So I mean, it feels like there's one team that we're always like, oh geez, this team is not going to have a good season, but
and it's usually Detroit.
I mean, even like looking at Jacksonville was the team last season. And I guess there was some NFC East teams that were questionable. I was worried about them. I didn't really know how any of them would do. But, of course, they all did crappy, which in turn actually brought them all up a bit because they all had, like, a minimum number of wins that they could get just by playing in the NFC East. Whereas the Jaguars, I actually looked at their roster and said, there's talent here, 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 here. And it's, like, 2 spots for Detroit. It's like there's talent here and here. And it's like, it's so limited. Like, I can't imagine this team is going to be much of a fight next season. I mean, we'll have to see what they do in these next few rounds. Maybe they could get a guy like De'Ami Brown, who now I've recently found, and I wish I had seen earlier, because he would actually be in my top 5 receivers. He would be my 5th receiver after Kadarius Toney. But, I mean, like, they're going to have to pull some good picks late here if they really want to be any bit competitive this season.
Yeah, I mean, they might lose the most games in NFL history while letting up the least amount of sacks in NFL history.
Well, we didn't give up a sack, but we really
didn't win a game either.
Yeah. Oh boy, that would be rough. So, how shocked were you when you heard J.C. Horn's name called? Because even though the other 3 picks were bad, in terms of like team need, I will tell you, the Panthers did pick a position of need. I just did not think in any way that I would be hearing J.C. Horn at number 8 before any other corner came off the board.
Yeah, I was shocked that it wasn't Patrick Surtain, because he just was the consensus number one guy to come off the board. But J.C. Horn's my number one corner, and him and Patrick Chung in that secondary is going to be lethal. They're going to kill guys. They are both hard hitters that just
Jeremy
have a nose
Chin.
for the ball. Jeremy Chin, sorry.
Yeah.
Jeremy
No, it's
Chin.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that you. I know what you meant, but I want to know that other
Yeah.
people know that you're
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not dumb. I know what you meant.
Jeremy Chin and J.C. Horn, they're going to be lethal in like laying out guys in that
I
secondary.
completely agree. He was above Patrick Surtain for me as well. He just wasn't my number one, but he was above Surtain. I was just really surprised because, like we said, we thought teams would just gravitate more to Surtain because they felt it was more of a guarantee. And then turn around and the Broncos go Surtain immediately after that. And I was like, I was shocked by that too. I was like, Denver's going corner here. They just picked up like how many
Ronald
corners?
Darby, which I
How
called.
many corners did they pick up? They got
I
they
think
got
3.
Fuller, Darby, and I feel like they signed somebody else too, right? Right?
I want to say Nick Needham, but I know that's wrong because you projected him to go, or you guessed
It's okay.
him to go to Denver.
But
But
it was him. It was Fuller and
Darby.
Darby, guaranteed. Those two guys
Mhm.
are definitely there, and the the fact that Patrick Surtain is going there too. It's like this room's gonna get a little crowded pretty
No
quickly.
fly zone. No fly zone 2.0.
But yeah, I mean, maybe like we've been saying, kind of. I feel like we've kind of come to this conclusion is that there's probably more teams willing to sit in nickel now for most of the game rather than actually go with a base 4-3 or a base 3-4.
Hmm.
So, I mean, maybe it's not a bad decision. But with that said, which one of those corners is the slot guy then?
Probably Darby. He'd be the most physical one out of the 3.
Really? I
I,
see. This is the thing. Is like you say that, and I'd say it's Fuller.
no, I can see it either way for the two of them. But
I wouldn't even say that it's off the board that Surtain was pretty physical
oh yeah,
too in college. It doesn't. It's not necessarily clear, and that's kind of why I'm like, well, geez, you can do this now, or you could go, oh, hey, we could draft some other position that we need here. We could trade down or something. I mean,
hmm
how about a guy like Elijah Molden in the second round or something? You're still picking high in the second round as long as they didn't get rid of their pick, which I'm pretty sure they didn't. So I don't know. That's just my thought process here. I don't love the pick for need, but I mean, geez, secondary's looking nice.
yeah.
Then we had this was our first trade, correct? Yes. The Eagles move up to get Devonta Smith to hop the Giants and swap with the Cowboys. Um, that was pretty interesting. I'm this is a very good pick for the Eagles. This is like out of filling positions of need. If you take the quarterbacks off the board at this point, because obviously if you need a quarterback, yeah, that's a huge position of need. But out of every other team that didn't go quarterback, this is the best. Like, this position's really crappy. We really need to fill it in. Pick, yeah, like Devonta Smith to the
hmm
Eagles is great. I'm only sad about this because Elijah Moore probably won't go there now.
I mean, they could double up because after Devonte Smith, who do they have? Greg Ward.
I love how every time we talk about the Eagles, you bring up Greg Ward. Just we don't talk about anyone else on the Eagles like Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, Lane Johnson. I mean anybody I can think of on the team. You just go Greg Ward every time. It's really a nice refreshing view.
Well, they got the other guy that played at University of Arizona. He was also a quarterback, and they made him a wide receiver too, so they got him too.
Khalil Tate.
Yeah, Khalil Tate. Yeah, they got those guys. So
Yeah, I heard Khalil Tate's got number 6 right now, and Devontae Smith can't wear 6, so he may wear number 3 for the Eagles.
that's gonna cause some drama.
Yeah. Then we had the Bears trade up. I didn't think they'd do it. I didn't think that they would be allowed to do it. I really didn't think that the general manager I didn't think the ownership would let them trade up because I didn't know how confident the ownership really was in the coach and GM. So I didn't think they would let them trade up, but they did get to trade up, and this is a great pick because I think we agree this may be the best quarterback in Bears franchise history, and he hasn't touched the field
Immediately.
yet.
Has not even stepped foot in the facility yet, and he's already the best quarterback in their franchise's history.
I just love now that we're here at 11. That we got to this point where we've got my two favorite quarterbacks in the draft are the two quarterbacks that slipped out of the top 3 and then made it all the way out of the top 10. Both of them. I'm just like, really? This is kind of dumb to me. But I mean, dude, I love Fields' talent. And I mean, besides like pure arm strength, because Bobby Douglas is gonna have him beat in that. Justin Fields, basically, yeah, we're talking best quarterback in Bears history for every other aspect of his game besides arm strength.
Yeah.
Dallas went Micah Parsons. I don't. This was. There were so many options here. I didn't know what they would do, but it makes sense. I'm not upset with it.
Yeah, it's a Sean Lee replacement, and if Dan Quinn, because he's their defensive coordinator now, if he's not confident in Micah Parsons to really cover a guy that well, he could just put him in that Sean Lee role of, all right, go and get the quarterback every single time, then sometimes we'll have you cover a tight end because you're fast enough to do it. And he slots into there perfectly of you're fast enough to keep up with him, but you're also so quick to just go and take his head off.
But he's also a blitzer, and he only blitzes every play, if we remember correctly.
Yeah, so
he's
that's
plenty
why
fast, but he's never going to cover anyone. He only blitzes.
Yeah, he just has to cover the leak out routes that tight ends have. Other than that, he's done for. They got Leighton Vander Esch to do all that. Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith.
It's so weird how big names their linebackers are, and yet like what their production was last season.
Yeah.
Oh man, and then this pick is just absolutely wonderful for the Chargers, especially since he got this far. Rashawn Slater to the Chargers, I think that's amazing for them. They had to be really happy when he got all the way down to them because I really didn't think that he would make it all the way down to them.
Yeah, they do what Detroit did, but what they did makes sense. Shoring up that offensive line and protecting Herbert's blind side.
Yeah, there's a few less needs on that team than the
Detroit.
Lions have to pick the guy that is just unnecessary. The Jets. I really did not see guard when they traded up here. That was not on my board at all. I was literally sitting there. And I think I sent you a text that said, if they go Elijah Moore, I'm done. Because, like, I was like, it's either a receiver or a corner. Those are the two positions I thought it had to be when they traded up to get in front of the Patriots. Because I'm like, why are they hopping the Patriots? I see the Patriots, I see the Cardinals. It feels like those would be logical places for corner. So I thought it had to be corner. Like, the only other possible thing is that it could potentially be a receiver. Just to make sure that New England doesn't get a receiver. Maybe they think New England still isn't extremely confident in their receivers. Their receivers aren't terribly great with the upgrades they made even. It's just that their best receivers are kind of their tight ends now, which is a little different. So I still thought there was a kind of some logic there if they came up and went a receiver. But when I heard Elijah, I was like, no way. They actually, like, just for that split second, I was like, there's no way they actually traded up for Elijah Moore. I'm like, come on. That's terrible. But then I heard Elijah Vera talking, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not upset with that pick. I just don't know what they were looking at going, we have to trade up to this spot to get him. Like, I don't know who was that close that they were really like, we got to get here instead of even 2 picks later for Arizona and just get in front of the Raiders maybe. It didn't make a lot of sense to me why they traded up there.
Maybe because they thought the Patriots were going to get a Joe Tooney replacement with Elijah Vera-Tucker. But it didn't make any sense. Like, trading up for a tackle there, okay, I can see it because you might not know if Darisaw is going to fall to you. That makes sense. But a guard is just... Maybe they thought Arizona was going to go offensive line. I don't know.
I really didn't get the trade. Not a bad pick, but I don't get why you had
No,
to give up.
it's not a bad pick at all.
I don't get why you had to give up resources for that. And then our buddy over here in the division, they just got my favorite quarterback, and that feels just about as like justified as it possibly could be. Like if there was one team that, like, just after watching Mac Jones for the first time, if there was one team that I had to guess that he would randomly somehow end up on, it would have been the Patriots. At least when I initially watched him. And then I just saw the thing with Belichick at the pro day and him like shaking his head. But really the issue that I thought that he was going to go too high for the Patriots to go. I didn't think the Patriots were going to move up to get him. And I thought they could move up for a different quarterback, but I didn't think they were going to move up to get him. However, they just sat still, and at 15, he was still sitting there. So they actually did get him. So I don't think they ever would have considered trading up for any quarterback really in this draft. But they just sat still, and they still got lucky that he fell into their lap. And geez, I mean, if you wanted one statistic to like not be said, for all these other AFC East teams that have to go against the Patriots now, if Mac Jones is playing, I mean, you just have to look at that 77% completion percentage in college to just go, oh my gosh, he's going to dink and dunk and kill us again.
Yeah.
And it's going to be miserable still.
I think Bill Belichick the whole time was just like, oh, okay, I don't really care if we don't get a quarterback this year or not. We'll just see what falls to us where we are, because I don't want to give up assets for next year, because that's when we're definitely going to get a quarterback if Cam does not pan out. But then Mac Jones is there, and Belichick has a type. And when he saw Mac Jones, he was like,
Belichick has a type? He went from Brady to Cam Newton. I don't think he has a type. I think he just likes good quarterback play. He doesn't, I mean, and I'm not saying Cam Newton played good last season. I'm just saying that he was like, oh, okay, we can get this guy who's at least slightly competent at football, and definitely not in the similar way that Tom Brady plays the game.
Cam Newton was Belichick's rebound.
Oh, wow. Who starts week 1?
Oh, Cam.
I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. I think it could
unless Mac Jones just absolutely wows them with his swing passes.
I think it could be bad enough in the preseason. Like we've seen the
oh yeah, there's gonna be preseason.
The accuracy issues enough from Cam where it's literally like, dude, he's gonna miss some throws in the preseason. Like he's gonna short arm at least one swing pass at some point because that's just what he does. And then we're going to see Mac Jones put a ball in a guy's chest 30 yards down the field on the money because he's the most accurate quarterback I've ever seen come out of college. That we're going to be like, wow.
Yeah. The only thing that I could see holding both of them back from securing the starting spot would just be the receivers on that team. I know that they overloaded that room, but yikes, it's still like, yeah.
Well, I realize I do agree with you. Those like I said that before. Like
it's better than last season. It's better than last.
It's
season.
better than last season. But the thing is that if Mac Jones goes out there and he hits a guy in the chest and he drops it, it's like, oh, okay. But if Cam goes out there and he hits a guy in his feet, it's like, okay, well, that one can't be blamed on the receiver, even though we're not sure he would have caught it. That was an awful ball. And I really think that may play an impact. I'd still say that there's a pretty solid chance that Newton's the starter week 1, but I would say I'm probably higher on the fact that Mac Jones could sneak in there than most people would think. Then we had the Cardinals go Zaven Collins. What did you think?
Did you hear what he said to Steve Keim when he called him? I saw this on Twitter this morning.
I didn't.
Before my class today.
I didn't.
Steve Keim's on the phone with him, and everyone's cheering, and Steve Keim just goes, dude, tell your family to calm down. I haven't picked you yet. And then he's like, oh, okay. Sorry. He's like, Steve, we're going to kill them. We are going to kill them. And I was just shocked. I'm like, oh, my God. Like, that's his goal. That's his goal right now, is to just come into the NFL and kill people. Maybe that's what Kyle Shanahan meant when he said that we're not gonna be around on on Sunday. He doesn't know who's gonna be alive on Sunday.
Man, who knows? I like Collins more than Parsons, but knew that Parsons was going to be the top guy. But at the same time, I like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah more than both of them. And boy, oh boy, we are going to flip out about this because whoever gets him in the second round is about to have the steal of the draft, considering that we would probably have both said. I don't know. I mean, he's top 3 players in the draft to me.
Hmm. Yeah, he would be the first. Like, if I was the GM and my need was not quarterback, he would be the player I would take. If I did not have, like, if I was the Jags and it wasn't like, oh geez, we don't have a quarterback. Even then, you still have Gardner Minshew. I'd probably take JOK.
Oh, jeez. Well, everybody loves Trevor Lawrence, so you can't do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. But I really like Zaven Collins. It's just really hard to make sense of the fact that people don't want Owusu-Koramoah. I don't know, at least for the Cardinals, I'll say these two things. Collins was definitely like zone heavy, and I don't know if the Cardinals really want to run zone. I'm having trouble really remembering what their scheme is. I'm feeling like it was more towards a zone coverage scheme than a man coverage scheme, though. And just like he's got that zone aspect to him, like I said, but just like they may be like with Isaiah Simmons last season, they may just be like, we can't go with an athletic freak again because that hasn't turned out well for us. Yeah, because I mean, what did he do last season? Like, I can't even say I remember seeing him on the field. Was he just hurt all year or what?
No, he might have been hurt during the course of the season, but I think it was just them constantly moving him around to different positions because they could not find a spot for him that they wanted to put him at. So it was like, oh, well, we'll put you at safety for a couple plays, and we'll put you at linebacker for a couple plays, and we'll put you at corner or slot corner for a couple plays to just see what make you rush the passer a little bit. And it's like, dude, just pick something for him.
I mean, you want to talk about freak athletes last year. I mean, people were in love with Isaiah Simmons, but like I said, it was Caleb Von Chason because he was insane. He's an insane athlete, but he's insane at one thing. Like, why do we want somebody who's like an insane athlete, but he's just half decent at everything? Like, specialize someone, figure out what you're gonna do because, geez, I mean, this guy's supposed to be so crazy in all the things he can do, and yet we didn't hear his name at all last season.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty tough. So I mean, I guess from that perspective, I can understand why they don't want to go for the athletic freak again, just because that hadn't turned out well enough.
Yeah.
Raiders go Alex Leatherwood. They could have went with him, but they should have traded down. If they wanted him, they should have traded down. I mean,
Yeah.
just realize what you're looking at. I mean, they're the only team that when they selected a player last night, ESPN decided to put a graphic up of the chances he would be on the board still in like the mid to late second round.
Yeah, for their next pick in the second round,
Yeah.
60% chance. And then Mayock released a statement saying, "I know that when we did it, it was gonna be called into question." It's like, yeah, dude, if you knew that and you knew
Trade
no one,
down.
if you know for a fact no one is going to take him, if you trade back to 32, just for hypothetical, if you are the last pick in the first round and you know no one's going to take him and you want that 5th-year option on him, make a trade happen.
Dude, the thing that's even dumber about this is it's like, well, if we if you knew you were going to take him, it doesn't even matter like how little you get to trade back. Like if you trade from 17 back to 32 and all you pick up is a 7th round pick, it's still a good trade because you were going to pick the same player either way. Like even if you get almost like nothing in exchange for allowing a team to move up that much, which is almost impossible. There was some team that was probably willing to pay more than that price to move up. I mean, come on, it's just ridiculous that teams wouldn't. But like, it just doesn't make sense to me why they would do that at all.
It's just their philosophy. Buy high, sell low. Buy
Honest,
high and then cut everyone in our one good unit that we had.
Honestly, ridiculous. Ridiculous. Uh, then we had Jalen Phillips go to Miami. This was a pick that this is kind of where I started to get some of my picks later in the round correct. So I had Jalen Phillips going to them at 15 through my trade with the Patriots that I had hypothetically, but that obviously didn't happen. So it's only a few picks later, but they still do get Jalen Phillips, so I was right about the pick and where he went.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the Raiders going tackle right before them, but I didn't think it would be Leatherwood. I thought it would be Jenkins.
No, yeah.
So I thought they were going to reach for a tackle. I just thought they were going to reach for a better tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez. Then this was where we really had the issue with linebacker and Washington when they took Jamin Davis. That was like, okay, Zaven Collins was questionable to take before Owusu-Koramoah. What are we missing? What is the reason to take Jamin Davis before Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah?
The one thing that ESPN and Mel Kiper said to justify the pick was he's a high character guy. And his parents are both served in the armed forces, and Ron Rivera really respects that. So that's why.
Dude, that's not a good reason for him to be a football player. Those obviously aren't bad things. Those are good things, but that's not a reason to pick a football player. Good lord. Come on, can we have a little bit more like thought and less? I mean, this isn't even just like a football thing. Can we get a little less emotional about things and just be like straight to the point with things? Like, geez, that's dumb.
Yeah, yeah. I think Ron Rivera just thinks that he can extract, because Jamin Davis does have a lot of potential for him. He doesn't, like, you and I both agreed that when we watched him, he doesn't jump off the page at you. He doesn't have a lot of wow plays, though he does make plays. So maybe Ron Rivera just wanted that consistency, but with JOK still there, that dude, every play for him is a wow play, and he can do everything at an elite level. And Jamin Davis does everything at like 2 steps below that. So it's a good pick at a position of like not really need, because when I had them taking Micah Parsons in my mock draft, you said that you didn't agree with the linebacker pick there because they're just adding to a unit that is already one of the best in the NFL, which it is. So
yeah, not the linebacker, but just the defense itself. If the defense is already successful, dude, build on the offense. Build up on something that isn't successful so that we can have both sides of the balls have some success. I realize the linebackers aren't great, but yeah, you're right.
But when I went with that Parsons pick, it was, well, this guy's just too good to turn down here.
And I understand that. That makes sense to me.
Like, if this guy can just bring our defense above and beyond with the tools that he has, fine. I don't see how you see that in Jamin Davis of this guy is going to bring our defense to the next level and like to the best unit in the NFL. I just don't get the pick.
Yeah. No. But then we had I loved this. What the Giants did last night, I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but really this is perfect. This is exactly what they should have done. They said, "Oh shoot, the Eagles jumped us, so they took the receiver from us. The Giants shouldn't trade up one pick to the Cowboys to make sure they don't get jumped. That's stupid." But they do get jumped. So then they trade down because they realize, okay, hey, the value's bad now. We can't go a receiver again, but they still want a receiver. And they trade down a bit, grab some capital, and then they still grab Kadarius Toney, one of the receivers that I think we both really like. I know I really like. I don't know necessarily how much you do, but I really like him. Just a little bit outside of that top 3 group. And then they acquire capital with it too, and that's exactly how the Raiders should have played it, with the guy they wanted. So they still get the guy they wanted, but they move down and don't over-select him. They don't pick him too high.
The Kadarius Toney pick, I absolutely love the capital that they get from the Bears in that trade. It is ridiculous, and it makes this pick look 1,000 times better. But just with how that receiving core looked, I could understand adding a Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle to it, but Kadarius Toney's my number two receiver. I just don't get it when there were guys like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Christian Barmore, a bunch of other guys on defense that they could add. Some good offensive linemen still on the board, and Tevin Jenkins and Darisaw, right? Darisaw's still on the board at that point because the Vikings haven't picked. Just there were so many other positions that I think they could have filled in besides getting Daniel Jones another weapon, which they spent the entire offseason doing and getting him weapons to give him no excuses. Now, I don't disagree with it because if you're giving him no way out of it, it's just you have Saquon, you have like four solid receivers in Galladay, Slayton, Kadarius Toney now, and well, John Ross, I guess, if you not a solid receiver. John Ross is good for like the first 4 weeks of the season. He's like Sammy Watkins. But you get that you're giving him no way out. I understand that, and you're stacking up your weapons for the next guy you bring in. Just, I think there were some better guys there that they could have gone for, and maybe that's just me being mad because I would have liked him to follow the Bills as well. But I I didn't understand it as soon as the pick went in, and then I think after the draft, when I woke up this morning, went back through the guys, it started to make more sense to me.
I don't think that this, unlike the Bengals and Dolphins, where I talked about them earlier and I said they don't need receivers, I think they've got guys who can fit the outside role on one side, the outside role on the other side, and the slot role. I don't think that the Giants had a slot receiver. So I think that this makes sense because they did need a guy to be the inside slot guy in their formations. So
Okay.
that's the only reason that I look at this differently than Miami or Cincinnati, because I do believe that they had guys where they still could have a 3 or 4 wide receiver set and be okay with it. Whereas the Giants, I feel like they would kind of have a difficulty figuring out which guy in their receiving core is going to be the slot guy.
Yeah, I can see that, but just going through their like top 4 receivers that they had before Tony, it was Kenny Galladay, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, and John Ross, which is a good core, and I can understand adding, I completely understand adding Tony to it. Just it's hard to get on board with that pick 100% with some of the guys that were still on the board.
I really don't like the idea of having John Ross be my slot receiver like 100% of the time, because chances are is he won't be playing the entire season.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's fine. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and I think you understand where I'm coming from, so that one's not really crazy disagreement. I got the next 2 picks correct. So I got Kwity Paye to the Colts, and I got Caleb Farley to the Titans, both in a row. Both of those were correct. So I obviously agree with them because that's what I thought they should have done.
Yeah, Kwity Paye. I also had the Colts going. No, I had the Colts going with Greg Newsome, but an edge rusher there is still great. They get a guy that can complement DeForest Buckner, just make that front 7 that they have just all the more powerful. And Caleb Farley is the top, when healthy, the top corner in the draft. So it was really depressing seeing him in his house all by himself because he has COVID and he couldn't have anyone over. So just him there clapping. But
oh, that's what it was. I was so confused when I was looking at that on the screen. I was like, because like I said, later in the draft, I wasn't listening to the stuff as much, just looking at waiting for the pick to be in and not focusing as much on like the background details. But yeah, that's sad because I really was looking at that, like wondering why he was standing there like that. That's too bad.
Mm-hmm. But those are both good picks, and the Titans just have a knack for taking guys with red flags. So why not do it with one of the best guys that has red flags in the draft?
And actually, I did get this pick correct too. But props to Minnesota, just like New York. I said Darisaw to Minnesota, but I said that at their original pick, and they traded down. That was with the Jets. I'm pretty sure that was the Jets pick that
Yes.
they gave up, and they still got Darisaw, so they filled a position in need, and I think that was another good pick for them because that's the position I thought that they needed to fill. And actually, Najee Harris again. So actually, 4 picks in a row there. Later in the first round, I actually got 4 picks in a row correct.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That Darisaw pick, I completely get it. That offensive line kind of got ravaged in the offseason with guys leaving, Riley Reef in particular. But yeah, and then the Najee Harris pick. You and I both guessed it, but I'm still not on board with it 1,000%.
Oh, I like it. I think it makes a lot more sense than going ETN to them because
No,
I said ETN was going to go before this pick, but Pittsburgh still I would have went Najee Harris before ETN because I do believe that their talent levels aren't like that different. Even though I said ETN was ahead of Najee Harris, I think Harris still fits Pittsburgh way more well than ETN would have.
completely agree with that. It's just I don't think the running back's gonna solve their woes. Like,
Oh, I think that you're saying that, but I mean, I would much rather have Najee Harris and, like I said, pick a bunch of offensive linemen in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round. Try to get like three linemen in these later rounds, not actually late rounds, just later than round
yeah.
one rounds, and then still get Najee Harris because I really do believe that like there's a gap in the running back talent that I don't believe is as much there in the offensive line talent. Like, could you imagine if somehow Tevin Jenkins got to Pittsburgh tonight? Now, this will be out by the time that round 2 and round 3 occur. This is just the first round review. But, I mean, if they get somebody like Tevin Jenkins tonight, I can't imagine that they'll be looking at it saying, oh, geez, we shouldn't have picked Najee Harris. We should have picked a tackle there.
Yeah. I talked about Joe Burrow having some kind of influence, and we made the joke about the guy looking like Herbert being in the front office there. If any quarterback had influence on what's going to happen, or with where their team picked in the first round, it had to have been Big Ben, because it seems like he's mounting up for his last ride. And if he's like, yeah, give me one more weapon, and I think we can do it, and then just draft linemen the rest of it. I think if you're Pittsburgh, it's kind of hard to just tell him no at that point. It's like, if you are that confident in us getting you a 5-star running back and then just building a line and just during the preseason throwing guys out there and seeing what works, what 5 we can come up with, sure, do it. Because Pittsburgh was rolling there for a bit. They were like the worst like 11-0 team ever, but
Really? They definitely were. It doesn't even feel like possible. It made no sense that they got that far.
But if Big Ben thinks that he's a solid running back away, then get it for him and just hope that it works out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it'll turn out the way they think it will, though.
No, I don't think it will either. But I just find it really hard if you're in the front office to not listen to him.
See, I hate this because I think it will improve their run game so much more having this talented first round running back there rather than saying first round we'll grab offensive linemen and then later we'll pick up some crappier running back. I really think the gap is big there for the running backs, and I don't think it's there for the linemen. I think the running game will really improve, but I don't think it'll be even close to enough to compensate for what their kind of team issues are as a whole, really. I think their passing game still has a lot of kind of broken elements to it, and its flaws are very obvious, and I would be shocked if they got past the divisional round.
Mm-hmm.
I would be shocked if they got past there. Then the Jags go ETN the next pick. So I wasn't shocked by this. I just had it so that I thought here would be a safety, and then they would go running back at the first pick in the second round. So not too far off, but a position that I saw them going to. Meanwhile, other people are like, "Wow, geez," they look at the roster and they're like, "Why would they pick a running back?" Because most teams need more than one running back because they're like the only team in the NFL that literally has like one running back.
Yeah, and if they thought that he wouldn't fall, because there were some teams that could definitely take him there with the Bills, and then maybe even the Ravens taking him afterwards just to have like a solid receiving running back. Yeah, if they didn't think he was gonna fall to 33, then take him. He's one of Trevor Lawrence's best weapons that he had the whole time he was at Clemson. So,
Yeah.
I just find it funny that Urban Meyer said he will exclusively be like a third down receiving back, and he's not gonna get a lot of opportunities like in the earlier downs. But like you said before we started recording, he just knows that they're gonna be on third down a lot during the season.
I he can't say this because he's the coach. Carlos Hyde will get schemed out of that offense fairly quickly. I'll tell you that now.
Probably.
I mean, who
He'll be like
who has kept Carlos Hyde around? Answer: no one.
the Texans.
No, no, they
Uh,
didn't keep him around because he would still.
no.
No one's kept Carlos Hyde after having him.
I
He'll get
Carlo
phased out.
Carlos Hyde is going to have like the Mark Ingram role last year for the Ravens of I'm just going to ruin the fantasy points for the other young running backs of this team with talent by taking handoffs at the 3 yard line and getting touchdowns.
Do the Texans play the Lions at all this season? I doubt it, but
They
they
played them
played
last
year,
season.
which means they won't play him this year. Basically, right? That's basically what that
Yeah,
means.
yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Some teams gotta win.
That would be so entertaining. I would actually be ecstatic if like for whatever reason the Bucks couldn't host the opening night game. If they if they instead had to just fill it in with a different game. I would be so happy to see Lions Texans. To be completely honest, like I would actually really enjoy that. Oh man, man, just exciting. Sorry, I'm just fanboying. Cleveland. Cleveland went Greg Newsome. I don't think this is a bad pick. I like the pick generally. I just I don't know why. I really liked the idea of Barmore ending up on this team just to have like a really, really intimidating defensive line. But this is a fine pick. I like it.
Yes, they get a great number 2 corner to have next to Denzel Ward. But I do agree, having a Barmore in that front would have just been disgusting.
Okay, pretty clear cut. We like it. Rashad Bateman to Baltimore. That is good. They get the receiver type that we wanted them to get, which was I think we both agreed on this. Is like we've been messing around with all these speed guys. Let's get a guy who can use his body to his advantage. And I mean, I think Rashad Bateman was probably like the best type of receiver for possession purposes, bodying up some guys, really using his size to his advantage, at least early round pick wise.
Mm-hmm.
If you want, I could also say De'Ami Brown's kind of that type. De'Ami Brown is really interesting. I don't know how recently you've looked at him or even how much you remember him, but he's a weird combination of everything. He is. I really like him, but he's probably not like the sizey enough type of player that the Ravens would have liked here. So I do like the Bateman pick, and sorry for cutting you off there.
No, it's fine. Yeah, the Ravens finally get a receiver that isn't just based on pure straight line speed, which is good because Lamar needs a guy that can catch. Because you can have Hollywood Brown run goes the whole time and have him do work in the open field, but if he cannot catch the ball when Lamar puts it in his chest, it's really, really hard for plays to be made.
Yeah.
And they bring in Sammy Watkins to be their second receiver, number 1 receiver, whatever they want or call them during the offseason. And he's just older Hollywood Brown, basically. He's got great straight line speed. Sammy Watkins can catch better. But he's going to make plays in the open field. It just doesn't bring new dynamic to that offense, which is what Rashad Bateman brings with his speed and his craftiness with his route running.
Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken, this just may be the teams that Minnesota plays against, but Minnesota's usually a fairly the university fairly ground and pound oriented, aren't they? Or is that just me mixing up their competition kind of because they usually play like Wisconsin, those type of teams?
I'm not 100% sure. I know that their coach PJ Fleck is like a really big personality guy, does a lot of interviews and stuff. So just for that alone, I'd assume that they're an air raid team.
Okay. I may be wrong. I was just saying. I was just wondering.
Oh, that's why.
Maybe he wouldn't be too annoyed going to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's why I just said the exact opposite of you. So we
oh,
can
one of
both be
us is
wrong, and
right.
there could be
No, one
one
of
of
us
us is
has to
right.
be right.
Yeah, one of us has to be right.
No, yeah, but talking about Baltimore really quick, I mean, but my favorite fit for any player in the draft would be if Ramondre Stevenson ended up on the Baltimore Ravens, but I don't think it's gonna happen, and I don't think he's gonna be like picked until like day 3, and I don't think whatever team gets him is gonna use him correctly, which is gonna suck unless New England got him. I think New England would use him properly too, but like, oh man,
Well, the Steelers.
that would be really interesting if New England had my favorite quarterback and like an awesome like ground and pound running back. Because I mean, Bills fan,
Well,
but I mean I know that they would actually use the players correctly for how they're supposed to be used. That's at least what I could count on if they end up in New England.
yeah. It'd be fun to see him go to the Steelers too. What's the opposite of the bus, or not the opposite, but what's an upgrade of the bus? The train.
I don't. The Steelers have kind of gotten away from their old ways.
Oh yeah, I know.
Because Najee Harris is not like a weak running back. Like, he's a strong running back, but he's not like a gigantic, like, overpowering. Like, he still catches the ball out of the backfield. Like, the Steelers used to just be like, run you over, shove you to the ground, whatever. I mean, and Najee Harris is kind of the perfect fit of like the new age version of that. Like, not too much size, but he's not like a small guy, and you're definitely wouldn't be an easy tackle in the open field, like just in terms of strength.
Hmm.
Whereas I think Ramondre gets a little away from that because he is like kind of a bigger guy, and
Yeah.
I think teams like New England, Baltimore, not too many other teams willing to say, okay, we'll go old school power offense, and that's
Titans.
yeah. Oh, that would be a really interesting backup spot for him to go to. Um, I'm interested to see what the Titans do this season though, because their O coordinator's gone. So I'm guessing they may not run as many. They may not be as successful. They didn't run too many screens, but they were a freaking extremely successful screen team.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm just wondering like what happens to the screen game now in Tennessee now that they're gone. And here, moving on to the next pick. You told me that this was gonna happen, so I'm gonna give you credit to you. But I was not expecting it to actually happen. But yeah, Peyton Turner was a first round pick, a defensive end from Houston. I am happy that he's not a Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, he was my favorite edge rusher in the draft. I'm happy that he was a first round selection, and that first round selection wasn't to the Bills. He's my favorite because I thought the Bills could get him in the second or third round, but he went in the first. The Saints. I'd love to see him produce opposite of Cameron Jordan. He's got some tools that he could use. He doesn't wear gloves. So he plays in a dome in New Orleans, so he's still not going to wear gloves, which is awesome. Need more of that. Uh, yeah, it's
I've just never been too impressed with defensive linemen from Houston.
yeah, I know, weird. But he I can't remember what his production was like in Houston. I liked what I saw. You didn't really like what you saw. He has the tools, and the Saints were able to develop Cam Jordan, but Cam Jordan kind of was more highly touted than Peyton Turner was. So we'll just see how that plays out. I think he could be a good opposite of him, but their stance on developing defensive line talent really hasn't been that great with like Marcus Davenport and some of those guys. So,
Trey Hendrickson,
oh yeah,
but now he's
yeah, I
gone.
guess. Yeah, now he's gone. And the other guy that they drafted in 20, there's another guy they drafted in 2016 that left to sign with the Jets too. I can't remember what his name
Well, he's
is.
on the Jets now. He's not going to be any good. Sorry. Sorry. I didn't mean to be mean. Um, Packers. So they just were like, oh well, Aaron's leaving. We were thinking about drafting a receiver, but now we're definitely not
Yeah.
because he's definitely gone. We hate drafting receivers in the first round, and if our quarterback's leaving anyways, we're definitely not getting a receiver in the first round. So we'll go
Mhm.
corner and get Eric Stokes.
Yeah. I mean, Eric Stokes is a house call machine. We both saw it. He could be a good Kevin King replacement. Very athletic and rangy, but
It's very
I
strange to say house call machine when it's a defensive player.
yeah, yeah. But
He's very exciting.
with with Asante Samuel Jr. there still though, it's really tough to say that, that was the pick and just with I mean, if there was any chance for them to redeem themselves to Aaron Rodgers, it could have been taking a receiver there, but if they just thought it was too far gone at that point, it's like, yeah, well, took a quarterback last year, might as well just take a corner now.
I will say that Eric Stokes and Tyson Campbell, he's the other kid from Georgia, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, them. With Georgia, it feels like you actually get a good mix of kind of the scheme there. It feels like they're not going too much man or too much zone exclusively. It feels like they play a little bit of everything. Whereas all the other guys, it kind of felt like you picked a guy and you knew whether he was a man corner or you knew he was a zone corner. At least basically in college for most of their scheme. Whereas if you go grab a guy from Georgia, and Richard LeCounte's from Georgia too, right? He's a
Yes.
safety, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you go grab a guy from Georgia, you're getting a pretty good DB who has like a good basis of like skills, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a nice part about grabbing a kid from Georgia is you're not really cuffing yourself to one certain type of player at all.
Yes.
So I like it from that perspective. I like all those DBs from Georgia this year. I didn't see a DB from Georgia I didn't like. So I'm fine with the pick.
Yeah.
Then the Bills took Gregory Russo. Um, we needed an edge player. I'm fine with it. He's a cool guy. I don't know how much production he'll actually have on the team though.
Yeah. I mean, with the Bills doing this, it kind of just sets it in stone that they're moving on from at least one of Jerry Hughes or Mario Addison, probably Mario Addison next season, and they're having their foundation set as our edge rushers of the future are going to be AJ Epinesa and Greg Rousseau. Uh, Rousseau, he brings a lot of different stuff to the table than Epinesa does. I think they might have him do the same thing that they had Epinesa do of cut weight, just to slim down a bit, or do the exact opposite and have him put on more weight and move him to the interior. I don't know. He brings a lot of length to the table, and he said he's fine playing edge or interior. Uh, do whatever the coaches tell him to do.
I would just say that now that we don't have a defensive line that is absolutely dominant, I look back at the 2010s, like mid 2010s, really, and I just like think, and I'm just like mid slash earlyish 2010s, and I just think, oh jeez, man, at least from the defensive line perspective, we had it so good back then. Because now
Hmm.
it's just like, dude, we have went D line 3 years in a row with our top pick. It's really not paying off at all. Josh Allen, obviously, really impressive pick. We've had other guys, late round picks, that have been really impressive for us. But, geez, we need a D lineman to turn out in some manner because it hasn't happened yet, and it's really been disappointing.
Hmm.
Uh, and we finish out the round basically with a run on these edge players because like they're really not that great, but so many teams need edge guys that they have to pick them. Jason Owe from Penn State goes to Baltimore, and then Joe Tryon from Washington goes to Tampa Bay. And Tryon was my favorite edge player, so the Super Bowl champions just got my best player at that position.
Yeah, I like Tryon as well. I didn't see him when we first went over the edge rushers in that episode, but went back, watched him, loved what I saw. He was in my top three after that when I went back and changed my list. Uh, he's bringing a lot more depth to an already great defense that the Buccaneers have, and with the Ravens and Jason Owe. If anyone could develop Jason Owe is very raw. He's fast off the edge and he runs around guys. That's what he does. If anyone can develop him and give him some moves, it is what that Ravens defensive staff can do. And Wink Martindale and all those guys, they make dudes beasts. So
Hmm.
I'm glad he went there because it's going to be fun to watch a guy like that because it's going to be like Chase Young if Chase Young ever decides to learn some moves.
Good one. You're funny. Oh man. So who do we got at the top of the second round?
The Jags.
Well, I mean, besides them, I knew that they Jags, Jets. Is it? Uh, I don't know. Who
Jags,
who
Jets,
who who are
Dolphins.
you most interested to see tonight? I mean, everybody else
JOK.
will know. I mean, obviously him. We both are like, what the frick is going on? Why are we having? How many edge guys did we say went in the first round? Why are we having? Let's see. Edge one, two. I know there was one guy that's listed as D end, but he's an edge too. One, two. Was there another D end guy listed? No, my bad. Sorry for starting over, but I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay, yeah, there's 6 guys that are basically edge players that went in the first round, and the fact that Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah didn't go in the first round is freaking ridiculous. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then I want to see if Elijah Molden gets taken today. He's another name that I'm interested in. De'Ami Brown, as I said. Tevin Jenkins, Oklahoma State. Is there many? Let me see. I'm just trying to remember. I really want to see how all these safeties fall because I
Yes.
think we have to finally see some of these safeties go off the board because they are really talented. It's just really hard to put them in order. What quarterbacks could go today? I think that's
Mm-hmm.
probably only Kellen Mond and Kyle Trask. If somebody likes Davis Mills that much, I'm going to be
I hope.
shocked.
I hope. I
I
hope someone
can't.
pulls the trigger on Davis
I'm
Mills.
that's just terrible. I want to see where both the Moore brothers go because neither of them are any bit exciting. And maybe another tight end will go, but Ifotu Melifonwu, him, Tylon Wallace, and then there's some defensive linemen that I want to see too. I don't know, Barmore, Tufeli potentially. That's kind of it
Yeah.
though. Those are all the names that I kind of want to highlight.
Uh, I I agree with you. You took most of the guys. Davion Nixon. I want to see where he goes. He's a very athletic D tackle that has like pick six up the wazoo. And Terrace Marshall. I think the Lions might take him if they didn't take any kind of playmaker because he's the only not decent one because there's a lot of good guys left, but he's probably the top receiver besides the more guys. But I don't see Dan Campbell taking a shot on a short 5'9" receiver when he's like, we already got short, fast guys on this team. I need someone that has some height and can go up and make plays. And that's what Terrace Marshall can do.
Hmm. Well, uh, I I agree with you. I think we're pretty much all set. We got everything out that we wanted to say. You got anything else?
Nah, I think we can cut it here.